But like honestly, man, like can we really blame James Gunn because like Warner Brothers have been trying to push this whole idea of restarting everything. What's going on, Novasquad? Welcome back to the channel. So the other day, I've actually went on to X, and then I heard that James Gunn is about to leave the DCU. I heard the reason being is because the Warner Brothers don't actually approve of what he actually is doing to the DCU, because he was trying. Well, once I tried. Basically, James Gunn has said he wanted to put a more of a kid-friendly view on the whole, Justice League, as far as, Superman and things like that. But again, you have his Peacemaker, especially in season 2 up at the first episode. It was very raunchy, very nasty, very gruesome. Well, I won't say gruesome. Well, yeah, I'm gonna say gruesome. I know I'm very flushed, whatever. I just came from work, and then I really wanted to react to more videos. I know I've actually posted a post saying that I'm going to be getting you guys upset on my next videos. This is not the video. This is the video that I'm planning on doing is going to be probably this weekend or probably tomorrow. It all depends when I'm going to finish and upload these videos. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
The thing about first impressions is that you only ever get to make one, and never is that more true than the world of big budget filmmaking. It seems like only yesterday that James Gunn was being hailed as the saviour of DC on film, taking over a struggling franchise that had failed to launch as a dark and edgy Marvel alternative under Zack Snyder, failed to reorganise itself under a trio of girl bosses when that fad came and went like a fart in the wind, and even failed as The Rock's own personal vanity project, pretty much signalling the end of his decade of box office domination.
Now, I know so many guys are going to say like, oh, why is this grown man caring about these movies? Life is going, crazy, etc., etc. Well, I'm just speaking for all of the people who actually find these characters in their own personal viewing. So it's like, I actually really enjoy James Gunn's Superman. I really do. I really enjoy how corny Cornsuit actually had persuade. Well, basically how he actually acted as a Clark Kent and Superman. But a lot of people were upset, like, oh, we didn't see a lot of Clark Kent. We see only Kal-El side of him. He wasn't really, showing how powerful he was. Well, I mean, like, that's who Superman is. Like, he is a being who was like a god, who is very gentle towards everything in life. Even though I really love the way that Zack Snyder had portrayed, I need to stop saying that word because I'm just butchering it over and over again. But how he portrayed, there we go. How he portrayed, God, I thought I had it. How he made Superman. At the end of the day, I really love the Zack Snyder view. Well, I like both actually, but it just right at the same time. But just people just don't really appreciate other folks' work. Like they don't really try to see the deeper meaning into movies and whatnot.
But a saviour had arrived in the form of James Gunn, the visionary director of Guardians of the Galaxy and, other stuff. Sure, he might have dismissed arguably the most popular actor to play Superman since Christopher Reeve literally weeks after he announced he was returning to the role. Sure, he cancelled every upcoming project except anything that starred his wife, and made sure to give his brother a major role that he totally didn't deserve. And sure, he was arguably a one-trick pony who tried to make every movie into Guardians of the Galaxy, but just don't think about it too much. Just keep telling yourself that James Gunn's amazing and everything's gonna somehow work out fine.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
But it turns out that everything didn't work out fine. The James Gunn honeymoon period is well and truly over now, the enthusiasm has died down, and after one underwhelming movie and 2 disappointing TV shows, the whole world seems to be coming to the same realization. This whole James Gunn thing probably wasn't a good idea, was it? An article in Forbes a couple of days ago painted a grim picture of Superman's box office performance. With a total haul of 615 million worldwide, the movie cleared just over 300 million after all the distributor fees were paid, nowhere near the 350 million needed to cover production and marketing costs. This, dear viewer, is what we call a flop. And keep in mind, Forbes is a pretty well-established industry publication with a long history of painting the most optimistic picture possible for big studio movies. If even they're admitting that Superman was a failure, you know it must be fucking bad. And this isn't just any old failure either. This isn't some obscure character from a limited run comic that we're talking about here. It's Superman, arguably the single most iconic superhero of all time. If you can't even make him work on screen, then what chance have you got with anyone else?
I mean, I just felt like, it's like, okay, here's my thing about it. It's like, I'm not trying to defend James Gunn, but like, as far as like me loving comic books, and then like, you know, at one point I was actually writing a comic book myself, and then like, I can understand when you want to write your own view of a character, and then I do understand where you want to put your own words and your own imagination into something that you feel like it's very precious. I apologize, but like right at the same time, it's just like, is like you would want to please the audiences that you're trying to gravitate around, but also put it into your own twist to it. Like, a lot of people really hated when James Gunn had changed the legacy of Clark Kent's biological parents by trying to make them as, like, you know, how the Saiyans were basically being ruthless, and then let's say, no, go out and then have many wives, have many children because you were the last son of Krypton and such. I know there are some versions out there where that's how the Kryptonians were. They weren't like the Saiyans. They were like the Viltrumites up in the Invincible show. But it was a different twist, but then at the end of the day, it worked. I mean, in my own opinion, it's like how I want my kid to do something that I want them to do, but then at the end of the day, they had to live life the way that they see fit. But then like right at the same time, his Earth parents did raise him to be a good person. Like how all life is precious, and every life has value to it. Even if they are bad or good, you still try to save them. You still try to rehabilitate them, try to be a better person, which part of that I do get it, but right at the same time, it just, I don't know.
Things aren't much better on the TV side of things either. Creature Commandos, which was actually Gunn's first entry in the DCU, was pretty much ignored and mostly irrelevant because really, who the fuck cares about an animated TV show about a bunch of characters nobody's ever heard of that's only loosely connected to the new shared universe? Yeah. Peacemaker Season 2 was Gunn's big passion project, probably because it stars his own wife who just mysteriously keeps getting cast in James Gunn projects. Oh my goodness, it must be a complete coincidence. Gunn himself hyped the show up relentlessly, constantly banging on about how important it was to DC's future and all the stuff that it was going to set up. Liar! Yeah. Because truly, if there's one guy you can always rely on to tell it like it is, and never resort to hyperbole and cheap sales tactics to drum up interest in his work, it's James Gunn.
Wrong.
None of it made any difference though.
Yeah, I mean, okay, you know, first and foremost, I do want to apologize for all the pause and such, but like at the end of the Peacemaker, the end of the episode, like it did tease on what is going to happen into the future, because where Peacemaker actually ended up landing at, it was the place called the well. First of all, spoilers ahead. It's basically like, you know, he was there at the Salvation, realm, which actually connects to the New Gods, which actually also tethers to Darkseid, whatever. But like, he was gassing up a whole lot, like saying that, oh, there's gonna be huge cameos at the end of the series, etc., etc. But another, again, spoiler alert, the only huge cameo we actually had seen was Lex Luthor himself, which was in the James Gunn Superman movie recently. So that was the only like huge cameo we had seen, because we all assumed that we was going to see the Earth X Superman, but that never showed up. But it is what it is.
The show failed to even break into the Nielsen top 10, there was practically no conversation about it online, and Gunn's decision to jam a bunch of modern day political lectures into the narrative with all the subtlety of a tactical nuclear strike at a time when most people are getting pretty fucking tired of that crap only served to divide an already small fan base. The result? Well, after a strong premiere, interest in the show flatlined and never recovered, and a potential third season was axed before season 2 had even finished airing. There's just no hiding it anymore. James Gunn's DCU is in deep trouble. It's barely even started and already people seem to have lost interest in it. And it's not like the best is yet to come either. Next year's gonna give us 2 more movies, Supergirl and Clayface.
Fuck.
Yeah, no offense guys, but if even Superman couldn't drum up audience interest, what chance do you think this drunken arsehole's gonna have? And I think maybe it's time to face reality with this one. Whatever it was gonna take to get DC back on track after years of mismanagement, James Gunn wasn't it. I know the loyalty some people feel towards that dude borders on religious fanaticism, but even the most die-hard James Gunn fan should be able to recognise the mistakes he's made. His first big mistake was failing to make a clean break from the old DCEU. DC on film was a complete mess by the time he took over. Not only did it have a whole bunch of conflicting creative visions for the DC shared universe, with elements of the old Snyderverse still lingering on, aborted characters and discarded plot threads lying around everywhere, questions about whether Henry Cavill would return as Superman, no fewer than 3 different versions of Batman active at the same time, a Joker spin-off that was disconnected from everything else, a Batman solo movie with a sequel still in the works, Suicide Squad and the Peacemaker spin-off that were personal projects of Gunn's, and even a Snyder cut of Justice League. What he really should have done was kill everything, let the franchise rest for a couple of years, and then do a hard reset, starting over with a completely blank slate. Instead, he went for a confusing and convoluted halfway house solution, axing most of the old DCEU, but still carrying Suicide Squad and Peacemaker over.
But honestly, man, can we really blame James Gunn? Because Warner Brothers have been trying to push this whole idea of restarting everything. Because yes, we can say that James Gunn, he is the head of the DCU as of right now, but right at the same time, it's just the marketing team and the heads of Warner Brothers are really trying to push him on trying to start over again, because this is going to be the 5th time or the 3rd time. No, it's it's gonna be the 3rd time they're going to try to start this whole thing over again. So again, can we really blame James Gunn? I mean, again, he is just doing what he's trying to do as far as putting out his own version of what he wants to do. But I don't know,
We're into the new continuity. Isn't it funny how people and projects that are personally connected to James Gunn always seem to make the cuts? He also kept the Matt Reeves Batman and the Todd Phillips Joker movies in their own separate continuities, with plans to introduce his own version of Batman and Joker into the DCU.
He could have done that.
Excellent stuff, James. That's not going to be confusing for general audiences at all. The point is that instead of the hard reset that was desperately needed, all we really got was just another rushed, poorly thought out course change from a studio that was too timid to make hard decisions, too impatient to wait, and too stupid to know what to do with its own IPs. No wonder audiences weren't buying into it. There's no reason to believe this version's even going to be around in a few years, so what's the point in getting invested in it? His second big mistake was inserting his own creative sensibilities into every project. James Gunn definitely has talents as a writer and director, but the problem is those talents are focused in a very narrow range, and instead of hiring other people who might be better suited to a project, he instead tries to make everything work his way.
But thing is, again, if you can make a story and then it can turn out to who'd be great, I say do it. Now, at first, as a kid, I was really upset how James Gunn turned Drax into this stupid beast. Because in the comics, Drax was a force to be reckoned with. There was a point in the comics when he personally had killed Thanos, ripping out his heart through his chest, through his back. That's how powerful Drax was. But then in the movies, yes, he was stupid and slow, whatever, very, very weak. But right at the same time, his presence made it work for the film. that he actually had, sought out. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy is known to be one of the best trilogies in Marvel up until this day. I mean, I can go online and then actually check and see, but like, you can make your own story in your own image, but it has to work. Like, you could put it in your own formula, but if it doesn't really make any sense, then like, it just like, I don't know, because like, yeah, like a lot of guys were like, I ain't trying to see, this Boy Scout crying over his mama and his dad, whatever. I'm trying to see this strong, hard, Superman, whatever. But like, again, it's like, that's not really how Superman is. Yes, like he's a powerful being, but like, he is very gentle to life. Like, the only times when he actually had cut loose in the comics, when he was being mind controlled, or when he was being pushed too far. He was mind controlled by Poison Ivy this one time when she actually had had put kryptonite into her poison lipstick, whatever, by like kissing him and such. And then the other time when he actually had cut loose when he had fought Darkseid, because he had told him everything around him is like cardboard. He has to like be gentle. He has to hold back every single time. But when he cuts loose, he cuts loose. Like, there are times when he never even knew how powerful he was. So again, like, if you can make it work in the movies, man. But I mean, it's my own opinion, but shoot. Let's go ahead and just like finish the rest of this video right here.
Watch any James Gunn movie or TV show and you've pretty much seen them all because they all adhere to the same basic formula. A bunch of flawed but likable misfits are forced to team up and have to work together to take down some big overarching threat, eventually becoming a kind of dysfunctional family along the way. Usually accompanied by a lot of snarky, self-deprecating humor, incongruous pop music that underscores big action set pieces, and a troubled protagonist with a dark past. It's fine for what it is, I guess, but once you've seen it 5 or 6 times, well, it starts to get old real fast, and it really underscores how the guy's writing sensibilities peaked like 10 years ago and haven't moved on since. More importantly, it's not a formula you can apply to every situation, and Superman was a perfect example of that. Yeah. You could see how hard he was trying to bend the character into the classic James Gunn mold, but it just wasn't working because Superman was fundamentally incompatible with his style of writing, and no amount of shitty, misplaced humor was going to change that. The result is that DCU is starting to feel more like James Gunn's own personal vanity project, made by and for one person only. James Gunn. He keeps the projects alive that he personally cares about, consistently hires friends and family who matter to him, and runs projects that he's totally not suited to in the way he personally enjoys. Here's the thing though, James, when you're the head of a multi-billion-dollar film franchise, it's not really about what you want anymore, it's about the audience and what they want, and it seems like the gap between those two things is getting wider with each new release. Say what you want about Kevin Feige, but the guy's at least smart enough to know his own limitations as a creative and let other people take up the slack. Now there's even rumours that if Warner gets bought over by Paramount in a deal that's looking increasingly possible, Gunn and his entire DCU will be the first out the door. And honestly, I wouldn't blame them one bit, because not only has Gunn fumbled what should have been a slam dunk, but there's nothing in the immediate future that can turn it around for him. I mean, what's the alternative here? Keep throwing good money after bad? Keep allowing James Gunn to churn out James Gunn projects made purely for James Gunn? Like I said before, you only get one chance to make a first impression, and something tells me this could be James Gunn's last. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Yeah, I can actually understand what he is talking about, honestly, because like, it is a formula that he has been using constantly. But I mean, if it can, like, again, if it can actually, make a great story, yeah, go ahead and go do that. But like, as far as you trying to like think that you can do the same thing for other characters, that part I really do, and believe it shouldn't really, be the same thing. But like, right at the same time, like, if you can make a great story, it shouldn't really matter. Honestly, like, I mean, yes, I know Superman is one of, if not the most iconic superhero that, I mean, ever. But it just like, it was a great movie. I mean, it wasn't the best, but it was. I had a great time. I wish I had more in the movie though. But It is what it is, though. If you guys really enjoyed this reaction today, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share. Let me know in the comment section down below what you to react to next. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, my name is Russell, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.